Today you're going to learn a pricing strategy that you can use in 2025 and how to price your products or services. Thank you for watching this video. When you're pricing your product, your program, your services, it's the same formula every single time. There's four main things to your pricing. There's your cost, which are variable or fixed. There's your pay, and there's profit at the end of it. So let's talk about cost, because that's one thing that you really have to button down and be tight on. So your fixed costs are going to be costs that you pay every single month. So if you have a building and you pay rent, it's the same price every month. That's a fixed cost. Your utilities are going to be variable unless they're a set on a payment plan. But otherwise they fluctuate. They're here and there. So those are variable expenses that you have to factor over the course of a year. Even if you're starting out, you take your first 2 to 3 months and you factor that out over the course of 12 months to get an idea of what you need to earn, to have, that's going to help you with your pricing, because you got to pay for everything or it's coming out of your pocket. So you have fixed cost, which are set prices. It's the same amount. It's a monthly charge. It's a yearly charge. It's a one-time charge. It's a fixed cost. If you have one-time charges, by the way, and you're paying for it today, a good example would be a computer, a laptop. So how do you factor it is I would factor it over 1 to 2 years, depending on how long you keep it, and then break that up into your pricing. There's a strategic formula to pricing. And if you do it this way, you're going to make sure that you cover all your expenses, you're going to pay yourself what you deserve, and you're going to have profit at the end of it. So again, fixed costs are set prices. They're the same amount, a one-time charge, a once a year charge, but either way, it's that same amount. Your variable is going to be the majority of where your payroll comes in, your payroll outside of you. So if you hire a virtual team, or you hire contractors, or you hire someone for a one-time deal, that's a variable expense. And what I mean by that is that it's not the same price every single time. If you have with employees, it could be a fixed cost, but we still keep it in variable, because if you pay hourly and they work overtime or they don't work the full amount, it's going to fluctuate that pricing. And so I like to keep those in a variable expense. When you hire subcontractors, you need some graphics done, you go to Fiverr, you go to Upwork, you go wherever, that's a variable expense. You need a banner for an expo or an event that you're doing, that's a variable cost. You travel, all the expenses for travel, including your ride share and everything else, variable expenses. Know the difference between both, but make sure that you're charging for every single thing. And on variable expense, what you want to make sure is that with your labor cost, you want to make sure that you're charging for the full amount of time spent, not just the time spent doing the work. So if you have an employee come in at 8 a.m., they're not going to work every single minute of every single hour. They're going to take breaks, they're going to use this, they're going to do that, but you're still paying for that amount of time. So what you want to do is you want to add from 10 to 30% additional labor expense to every single position in every single job. And so in the building trades, it's not uncommon for them to add from 10 to 30% as unidentified future expenses. I forget the exact name of it, but it's in the scope of the job. It's a variable expense because there's going to be overruns. There's going to be mess ups that happen, and they want to cover those costs as much as they can up front. So you want to make sure that you're covering those too. So when you're factoring your formula out for your variable expenses on your payroll, your employees or your virtual assistants or your contractors, you want to add about 10 to maybe 30% additional expenses on their pay, because that's what's going to happen. It's going to take them a little bit longer to get the job done. They're not going to work every single minute of the hour. We can't expect them to because we're humans. We just won't. Before I get too much farther, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And I'll keep bringing more and more of this in. I have a calculator that takes people through this formula. It shows you every single expense. It shows you your fixed costs, your variable costs, and then the next important piece that I'm covering is your pay. You need to get paid from day one. If you're just starting a business, you need to pay yourself. Don't believe the lie that you don't pay yourself for the first year. No CEO in the world goes to work for a corporation and doesn't take a paycheck the first year, unless they come in well financed to begin with, but they're promised an astronomical amount of stock options at the end of that year. They're still getting paid. So you don't take no money. You never work for yourself and not factor in your payment. So now you have your fixed costs, your variable costs, now your pay. When you take all those three things into place, you're going to come up with a total number. Let's say that number is $5,000. And now you have to add profit. How much profit? It all depends. Corporations go between 5 and 25% on average, with 15 to 20 being their sweet spot. So for today's sake, let's just use 20%. So 20% of $5,000 is $1,000. So you're going to add 5,000 plus 1,000, which is $6,000. Now, once you get that, you're going to start factoring in how many clients do I have, or what can I charge one client? So let's say this industry on the high side of charging is around $800 to $1,000. And you don't want to charge a lot more than that because you feel it'll be difficult to get business. Not always true, but I understand what you're talking about. So what we want to do is you want to make sure that you are adding a price or charging a price that is value-based, not compared to what everyone else is doing. For this example, we're at $5,000 for expenses, including your pay. We're at $1,000 for profit. That's a $6,000 total. If you have 2 customers, and that's what you average per month, then if you don't charge $3,000 per sale, you are losing money. If you have 4 customers, you would charge $1,500 a piece to equal $6,000. You see how you start breaking this up? So your pricing is going to be determined upon all your expenses and upon how many people you work with. Now, one last thing, there's a formula out there. You're going to hear a lot of BS. It's not all true. You're going to hear cost-based pricing, value-based pricing, dynamic pricing, competitive pricing. All of those are guessing your prices. You don't charge what your competition charges because they have different expenses than you. They're not paying your bills, you're not paying their bills. Value-based pricing is, this is what I think I'm worth. And a lot of people are undervalued. So don't go there, or they're way overvalued, and it's just crazy because, quite frankly, some of them aren't worth it. The other thing is cost-based. They say, take all your cost, right? And then double it or triple it, and you'll be profitable. And that is very likely true. But wouldn't you rather know? There's a formula to this, where you take all your expenses, you take your payroll, you take your profit, you figure out how many clients is that sweet spot that you need to work with, and then you'll find that you can charge a certain amount. And the beauty of the calculator that I developed is not only does it show you with your numbers, but we can forecast your growth so that you can pay for that next assistant or that next 2 assistants before you ever hire them, and realize how much exactly you need to charge to make sure that that's covered, so that 50% of all of your problems and all your worries, which is I can't afford to hire my help yet, gets eliminated. Use this pricing strategy, cover your cost, pay yourself money, add a profit at the end of it. If you just do those 3 things, and without even having any more help, you will be in a much better position than 50 to 80% of all the entrepreneurs out there who are guessing their prices. Thank you.